MBGmail5911 says, "You playing is so random and the tones are falling apart. I watch because of the cool gear, but I'm disappointed all over again every time." I have no idea what you're talking about, man. I watch because of the cool gear, but I'm disappointed all over again every time. Well, you know what they say about insanity. Here's an idea. Why don't you start your own YouTube channel and show me how it's supposed to be done? But before you get started on that, you might want to work on that potty training thing, and you have to move out of your mommy's basement. All right, guys, welcome to episode, I don't know, 6, 7, whatever it is, of Riffs and Responses. This is where I read and respond to your comments and questions. And a lot of times I won't just give you my response verbally, I'll give you demonstrations as well. So basically, I do my best to take it a step or two further than just answering your questions verbally. I will give you some demonstrations and shootouts as well. So in this video, I'm going to help someone who's trying to decide on whether or not he wants to sell his JP-2C and get a Revv Generator 120 Mark III. And we're going to see if it really is a dumb idea to boost a Mark amp. And we're also going to see if the EVH Iconic sounds like a Mark. That'll be interesting. And we're also going to talk about the EVH Stealth 100 and how it compares to the Engl Fireball, my in-ears, and we're going to talk about the KHE Amp Switcher. So let's get started with the first comment now. This first comment is from Nick Tremblay. He says, "I'm really enjoying your Riffs and Responses series. I think it's a nice variation to your Sunday live hangs. I have a request for your next R&R video. If you could shoot out the JP-2C and Revv Generator Mark III on the clean, rhythm, and lead channels, that would be awesome. Maybe give your feedback on things like tightness, feel, saturation, low end, etc. Thinking of selling my JP-2C and using that money towards a Revv Generator Mark III. I think you're just the man to help me decide. Thanks." Well, thanks, Nick. I'm glad you are enjoying the channel and this series. I actually really like this series. This has been a lot of fun. You know, I put in a lot of time to do these videos, but I do like how they come out, and I know, pat myself on the back again, you know.
I'm so good at what I do.
But I'm just saying that I do enjoy it, and I love helping people make decisions, or, you know, I love answering their questions. And I love making fun of people who make fun of me. Because, hey, why not, right? Fair is fair. And as a side note, to all my haters out there, please keep making fun of me. It gives me a lot of great content ideas. All right, so Nick, to your question, let's go ahead and compare the clean channels on both the Revv Generator Mark II and the JP. And I'm going to turn off the effects because I just want to show you exactly how these channels sound, just raw. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so in my opinion, I like the clean channel on the JP quite a bit more. I just think it's more musical sounding. It won't break up at all, where the Revv clean channel on this particular amp anyways, on the Mark III, does, it's just, you can tell it's just about to break up sometimes. You got to be careful with that. And I think the reason why is they made channel 2 on the Revv has a lot more gain than channel 2 does on the Revv Mark II. So maybe there's a little bit of a compromise there. I don't know. I'm not the amp builder, but I'm just guessing. I could be completely wrong. But all I can tell you is the clean channel on the Revv Mark III is decent, but I very much prefer the clean channel on the JP. Like I said, it's chimier, it's warmer, it's bigger sounding, fuller, brighter, more musical, but both channels are usable. It just depends on your taste. So now let's move on to the crunch rhythm channels on both amplifiers. So it'll be channel 2 on the JP and the purple channel on the Revv. All right, so between those two, the Revv is definitely more saturated. It has a bigger sound, where the JP is a little more focused and a little tighter. And it just depends on what you're looking for. You know, I like both of these amps, and depending on my mood and what I'm craving that day, I'll prefer one over the other. But in general, I will tell you that you're going to get more saturation, a little bit of a thicker sound out of the Revv than the JP, and the JP is going to be a little more focused sounding. And if you want to get more articulation out of the Revv, just turn the aggression down a little bit. I have it all the way up. But I have it on red. So let's go ahead and turn the aggression all the way off and see how they compare. And I'm boosting both amps with the odd box right now as well. I'll play them unboosted in a second as well. So as you heard, with the aggression all the way off on the purple channel on the Revv, it got a little less saturated and a little more focused and articulate. So it really depends on what you want. So you can really sculpt the tone quite a bit on the Revv by turning the aggression on, off, or various settings. So now let's turn the boost pedal off and compare them with it off. So they're pretty comparable in these settings with the overdrive off, but as you know, because you own the JP, if you crank the treble knob all the way up on the JP, it acts kind of like a boost, so it really adds aggression and tightness to the amp. So now let's compare them while I'm using that built-in trick on the JP. And you know what? I'll turn the aggression level up once to blue on the Revv just to see what happens. Yeah, the JP definitely got much tighter. The Revv did tighten up a little bit with the aggression up, but I mean the JP in this particular part of the comparison was tighter and more aggressive. But honestly, I don't care because I boost all my amps anyway, so I don't really care how tight or loose an amp is without a boost because I boost everything. And when I do boost the JP, I don't crank the treble up. I have it at like noon or 1 o'clock or somewhere around there. So for the rest of this video, I'm just going to keep the boost on, you know, just to compare on the lead channels, which is what we're going to do next. Honestly, I think both of them sound really good on the lead channels, and there's a great feel on both of them. I'll say that the Revv is a little more forgiving, though. There's a little more saturation there. I think it's a little thicker than the JP, but it really depends on what you want. So if you want a tad more articulation and a little less forgiveness, so you have to really dig in and play things, you know, better, I think the JP might be more for you. But if you want a little bit of forgiveness and thickness and more saturation, then I think the Revv might be a better choice for you. Now, I will say that most of the time when I play the Revv, I've said this before in my live streams, I feel like I can do no wrong. It's just so easy to play, and I just really love that amplifier a lot. But with the JP, I mean, because it's more articulate in some ways, you know, and points out some of your mistakes a little easier, because it's so, you know, the gain structure is not as I don't know what you want to call it. It's just a little more articulate on the gain structure. It's so rewarding when you do play things right, because the notes stand out really well, and there's a lot of great reward that comes with that. But it doesn't mean that you don't get a lot of clarity with the Revv either. I'm just saying it's a little thicker and a little more forgiveness with it. But both of them feel really great to play. But as far as overall feel goes, just in general, I'd say the Revv feels a little bit better, a little more comfortable to play for me anyways. And I know I'm just doing some quick demonstrations between these two amps, but I'm just trying to help you best I can in the most efficient way anyways. Now when it comes to features, I mean with the JP, you have a lot of features with it. You know what those features are. I mean, you have the shred feature, you also have the built-in cab clone, and you have the two separate EQs that you can assign to different channels on the amp. So I mean, there are some great features with that. But with the Revv, you get, you know, all the channels are pretty independent. They have their own tone stack. You know, and you also get, you know, channel 2, which is like an extra channel. So if you like that classic rock type stuff, you could do that on channel 2, and it's a great sounding channel for that. And you also get the 2 notes built in. And the cab sims that it comes with, especially cab sim number 1, is awesome. In fact, I used it last night in our live stream, and it sounded freaking amazing. There's no need for me to download any other cab sims. I would just do it out of curiosity, but the cab sim that it comes with, especially in slot 1, I think is perfect. It sounds really freaking good. And because of that, you can confidently take the Revv anywhere you want without a cab and plug it into a front of house in stereo and have really good sound. And you don't need to bring a load box because one's built in already. So feature-wise, I think the Revv has more features, and I think they're all very usable. But that's not taking anything away from the JP. That also has a really good amount of features as well. So I think it's a photo finish between the two. So hopefully I helped you out with your decision. And what I can say is if you do sell your JP, I don't think you're stepping down into the Revv at all. I think you're making a lateral move quality-wise. And if you like the Revv better, then for your sake, you're making a step up. So it really comes down to your taste and whether or not you like one amp better than the other. So I really hope this little segment here helped you make your decision. And again, thanks so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate it very much. All right, so this next comment is from Tim Valita 7003. And he says, I've owned a few Marks. Putting an overdrive in front of these amps is just dumb.
Okay.
Dial it in to sound like it's supposed to without a pedal. A true demo will not really have a boost pedal engaged. Glad you took it out, but you should usually dial them in without a boost. You do not need a boost for 80% of amps if you dial them in right and play tight enough. I play heavy thrash, fast, tight riffs. I stopped using boosts a long time ago. Well, good for you. Wow, that's amazing, dude. I'm really glad that you have elevated yourself above so many people out there who rely on boost pedals, include professional signed charting artists that use them as well. That's awesome. You should probably share your secrets with everyone and start your own channel and show everybody, you know, how you did it. You know, I honestly could not disagree with you more regarding 80% of the amps don't need a boost pedal. Dude, 80% of the amps on these shelves right here, you're saying don't need a boost pedal or don't benefit from one. Well, again, it all comes down to your personal taste and your style of playing, your pickups, the genre of music that you play and everything. And I know you listed a couple genres that typically use boost pedals, but for some reason you don't need one for what you do. I mean, I haven't heard you play, I haven't seen you play, so I have no idea your skill level or anything like that. So it's hard for me to really judge whether or not you would benefit from one. But then again, who cares what I think? All it matters is when you play an amplifier, if you feel the need to not use a boost pedal, good for you. I hope that works for you. But what I get sick of is the virtue signaling about boost pedals. Like,
well, I don't need one.
Well, good for you, man. Seriously, enjoy your flubby tone. That I don't care if how tight you play, it doesn't make the amp tighter. You could play as tight as possible, and it doesn't make the amp sound tighter. If boost pedals were not needed, then why did they make so many of them? Why are there so many varieties of boost pedals out there? And why do amp builders make them? I mean, Red 7 makes a boost pedal, and so does Friedman. I guess they suck at making amps, so they they have to make boost pedals to improve their amps, right? Because their amps are trash. I mean, it's just what you said here is absolutely ridiculous. It really is. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but, you know, not everybody is going to agree on, you know, what settings work best for them. But what I can tell you is every single time I have somebody over my house and they come down here and say, oh, you could turn the boost pedal off, I don't need it. I'm like, okay, I turn it off. And when they're not looking, I turn it on and they start playing better and they start like I can tell they enjoy how much better the amp sounds and feels. And then I turn it off again and then they stop and go, oh, what was that? Something wrong? I'm like, what do you mean? Well, it just feels weird now. And I'm like, oh, well, I turned the boost pedal on for a few minutes and then I turned it off. They're like, turn that back on. And I turn it on, they start playing and then they see me turn it on and off and they're like, holy shit, I think I like boost pedals. And I'm like, yeah, that's why they make them, dude. Next thing you know, they're buying a boost pedal and enjoying the crap out of it because they really do improve the way the amp sounds and feels. Now, regarding the Mark Series amps, yeah, you can play them without a boost, as I demonstrated earlier in this video. You can definitely just crank the treble and adjust the mid and the bass knobs accordingly and get it to sound tighter and a little more aggressive. But that doesn't always work for everybody, okay? It doesn't work for everyone. It's kind of a one-size-fits-all kind of thing that's in the amplifier, and for some people it can work really well, and for some other people it just doesn't work. I'm one of those people who want to just use my own boost pedal, sculpt the tone the way I want to, and enjoy that. And there's nothing wrong with that. So anybody reading comments like that, just ignore those comments. So I'll just come right back with you with the same kind of comment and the same kind of attitude, and just say that anybody who says you don't need to boost a Mark amp is making a dumb statement. It's a dumb statement because, again, we're all freaking different. Like a lot of people, I also prefer a boost in front of my Mark Series amplifiers, and that doesn't make me dumb. And it doesn't make them dumb either. So let's do a quick demonstration with the JP Mark II, set up to be as tight as it can be without a boost, and then I'll boost it and bring some of those settings back so it takes a boost really well, and just see how much different it sounds or how similar it sounds. But I can guarantee you this, I'm going to prefer how it feels a lot better when I boost it myself with my own pedal. So the first riff will be with the amp unboosted with the treble knob cranked. All right, so the sound was pretty identical. In fact, with the YouTube compression, I bet you probably would have a hard time hearing the difference. But I think the feel was better for me. That's all I'm saying. I like the way the amp responded to my playing. It just felt a little better. So again, it's not dumb to boost a Mark Series amp. So to each their own. Do whatever you want, do what works best for you. So as long as you like it, that's all that matters. But because you like it doesn't mean everybody else has to. I just wish people would just stop virtue signaling about boost pedals. It just drives me nuts sometimes. All right, so this next comment is from Deckard RJ. He says, I think with some tweaks, the Iconic can sound like a Mesa Boogie Mark Series. Anyone thinks the same? P.S. In fact, in this video, I thought it sounded a lot like a Mark. It can be a little because of the JP Music Man, but I watched other videos and other guitars, and I thought they sound similar. All right, so well, I have the Iconic right here, and I haven't changed the settings at all, and I have my JP already hooked up and ready to go. So let's go ahead, and I always boost them, so I was boosting them in that video, so I'll keep that all the same. So let's go ahead and compare them right now, and I'm going to compare the green channel with the gain cranked on the Iconic to channel 2 on the JP and just see how they sound. Okay, so because this is a riffs and responses video, I have to keep things quick here. I think with some tweaks, I might be able to get them slightly closer, but the thing is about Mark amps is they're very focused sounding. And it's just really hard to duplicate that in other amplifiers because the Marks are just, they're in their own kind of category, you know? And that's why they're so special. I mean, a lot of people really love those amplifiers for that reason. And like I said earlier, it's just hard to duplicate that in other amplifiers. So I think that that's what really sets Marks apart from other amps, is the fact that they're so focused and they just have this bold kind of sound to them, and they're just very unique. So I think without hearing them side by side, some people might be able to say, like, with confidence, like, yeah, that kind of sounds like a Mark. I think there's some slight similarities between them, but when it comes to the focused aspect of the Mark, there's just nothing out there that matches that. So I do appreciate your comment, though, and I'm glad that you enjoyed the video, but I just thought it'd be interesting to shoot it out in this video and just see if they do sound similar. And again, I think there's some slight similarities, but the voicing of the EVH Iconic is it's definitely quite a bit different. But and I'm not trying to be like disrespectful and saying you're wrong or anything like that. It's actually a really good comment, and it got me thinking, like, I wonder how close they are. So this is one fun way to quickly find out. So thanks again for commenting, and I hope you continue to watch my videos. All right, so this is from Tattoo Guy. He says, I'm trying to decide whether I want an EVH Stealth or an Engl Fireball 100. What are your thoughts? Well, that's a really good question. I think for me, it'd be a really easy answer. I'd go for the EVH Stealth 100, 8 days a week and twice on Sunday. I just think that that is a really good amp. It's more brutal. And I like the fact that you have 3.5 channels in it. The reason why I say that is on the green channel on the EVH Stealth, you can crank the gain up and have a really nice classic rock channel on it, or take the gain down quite a bit and have a really good clean channel. Channel 2 is money. It's just such a great rhythm channel, and there's enough gain in that channel for leads as well. But channel 3, there is nothing on the market that's more brutal and nasty than channel 3 on the EVH Stealth 100. And with the Easter eggs and stuff like that that are in that amplifier, I mean, it's just so versatile. Channel 3 is just an unbeatable channel as far as brutality goes and aggression goes. Now, what's nice about channel 3 too is because of the Easter eggs, you can either forego a boost pedal because the gain knob on channel 2 when you're on channel 3 acts kind of like a boost knob, or you can use a boost pedal and use the gain knob on channel 2, which is the blue channel, to feather in and just kind of really sculpt the tone on the red channel. And just, I mean, there's so much fine tuning that can be done with that. So I just think that that amp is really fun to play. It's really fun to dial in and tweak and stuff like that. It's just, to me, again, it's just a very easy decision. I would easily go with the EVH Stealth 100. And as a side note, I think the gain structure on the Stealth 100 is better. It's more articulate, more aggressive. You get better note separation. And with the Engl Fireball, the gain structure is decent on it, it's good, but there's a little bit of that fizziness to it where the top end on the Stealth is more articulate and aggressive, and it just has a nice bite to it. So while we're talking about the EVH Stealth, let's just do a couple riffs on the blue channel and on the red channel, starting with the blue channel now. I mean, that's just freaking evil, man. there's just this nasty snarl and this really nice bite and attack on the top end of channel 3, where channel 2 is a little more mellow, but it's very, very good and aggressive as well. So you have two really, really, really good channels in that amplifier regarding the high gain stuff. And between those two channels, I don't see how you couldn't make this amp work for you. And in a side-by-side shootout between the EVH Stealth 100 and the Fireball 100, I just think that the EVH Stealth is just way more brutal and it has a better gain structure. And I just like the overall tone and feel better as well. So I hope that helps you make your decision. And please let me know what you decide and how it works out for you. All right, so this next question is from Wayne Faircloth 3423. He says, for the next R&R, would you mind sharing exactly what in-ears you use for the show? I would like to upgrade for my band's shows. Yeah, absolutely, dude. So I use the KZAS 10 in-ears, and these are 10 drivers, so 5 drivers in each one. And they're like, last time I checked on Amazon, they were like 69 bucks or something like that. And they are freaking amazing. Like, I've been using these for probably 7 years. And I started out with the Sures, and they just sounded really small and tinny. And I've tried some other of the Sures with the 3 drivers and stuff, and they just don't compare to these. These literally sound like you took a stereo system and stuffed them in your ears. I mean, there's a lot of great low end, great mids, a nice smooth top end in them, and there's nothing piercing about them. Now, here's one major point that I need to say to you, though. Make sure you get the right cable for these, the cable that you use to hook up to your pack. They have several different cables, and make sure you get the one that has, in the description, like, I think it says something about good mids and good low end. Do not get the one with the clearer highs and all that, because, man, the cable matters. Do not get that cable that says better highs, because all it is top end. There's no mids, no lows. I don't know what they were trying to do with that cable, but I hated it. And how I discovered that was my cable finally went bad once, and I was like, well, I'll just order this cable. You know, I didn't know cables mattered that much for in-ears, so I got it, and all of a sudden my in-ears sounded like pure shit. I mean, all I heard was tinny top end. They were thin. I'm like, what the hell? And so I was like, well, I'm going to go through my history on Amazon and find the cables that I bought that cable and plugged them in, and oh, it's like, oh, thank God. They sounded so bad with the wrong cable that I literally couldn't even use them for the live streams. I had to get the correct cable shipped as soon as possible, or else I couldn't stand hearing them. So make sure you get the right cable. It's a darker one. It's not the whiter one. I don't know if that matters, but just, again, read in the description of the cables that you can get for these that says, it talks about the mids and I think the low end as well. But anything, again, that says, you know, better top end or better highs or whatever, avoid those cables like the plague. Or if you want to experiment, because they're not expensive, just get a couple different cables and pick the best one that works for you. But I can't recommend these enough. These in-ears are absolutely amazing. I like them so much that I actually have a backup on my desk over there. So if and when these ever go bad on me for whatever reason, I got a backup. And I'll never want to be without these. They are freaking awesome. And they sound great when you're on stage. Performing down here, they sound amazing. And because the thing is when I'm on stage, I want to hear it and feel it. I want it to sound amazing in my ears. I don't want them as just a reference. I want to enjoy what I'm hearing. And I think that the more we enjoy what we're hearing while we're performing on stage, the more we're going to enjoy the performance, and the more our audience is going to enjoy our performance as well. Because if you're not having fun up there, everybody watching you is not going to have fun either. So I hope that helps you out. Okay, so final question for the video. This is from Martin Hensley 2377. He says, can you talk about your switcher too? Yeah, I mean, I have the KHE amp switcher, and I also have the effects loop switcher as well. That way, when I switch amps, I also can switch effects loops at the same time, so I can keep my effects on. And I got to tell you, man, this is absolutely by far the best piece of gear I have in my studio. Because I have all these amps, I can easily do videos like today where I used, what did I use? 1, 2, 3, 4 different amps. And because I have the KHE switcher, I was easily able to do that. I didn't have to set each amp up so I can show somebody something or whatever. I could shoot out amps, I can dial in amps. at the flick of a switch, I can choose whichever ones that I want. And with my Stream Deck, I can actually, you know, choose different amplifiers, and the picture pops up at the same time of the amp that I've chosen. So it's just super handy. It really is. And if you have a collection of amplifiers, I highly recommend that you get the KHE Amp Switcher. Marcus is a great guy, super honest, super fair, really good guy to do business with. I mean, I wouldn't want to do business with anybody else when it comes to amp switchers. And these things are built like tanks. I wouldn't trust I mean, I got a lot of money sitting on these shelves, and I wouldn't trust them to anybody else. So if that doesn't endorse their product, I don't know what will. Yeah, they're just great and easy to hook up. You can program them via MIDI. I mean, there's just a lot of great reasons why you should get them. And the thing that I found too is when you have an amp switcher, not only is it easier to just select an amp and play it whenever you want, especially after you hook everything up, it's not such a chore anymore, but you can also compare amps side by side directly. And like there's times where it's like, oh, this amp's, oh, it's so aggressive and it's amazing, and oh, this amp's kind of soft. Like, wow, why is the top end on this amp? And you know, what you do is you go back and forth and you basically steal tone ideas from you know, or tone characteristics from each amp, and they better each other, you know. So now I'm like, oh, I can make this amp sound more aggressive because I have something to compare it to that actually is more aggressive. And so all of my amps now, in my opinion, sound as good as they possibly can because I've compared them to each other. And there were times where I didn't like certain amplifiers because I was like, ah, man, this amp just, you know, whenever I play it, it's decent, but it doesn't have the whatever that this other amp has. But when I compare them side by side, whatever mojo the better amp has suddenly starts getting into the other one because I'm dialing things in. I'm like, oh, there it is. And it's taught me a lot about amplifiers, you know, because sometimes you dial in with, you know, amplifiers with your eyes and not your ears. And we're all guilty of it. I used to be. But the switcher has taught me to not do that and to, you know, take some of the knobs to extremes, which you know, visually are extremes, but to my ears are like, oh, there it is. I mean, that's why I have the presence at 3 o'clock on my Stealth. Now, normally you wouldn't do that on most amps, like 3 o'clock, but that's where it's supposed to be for it to sit in a mix properly and to sound its best. And I learned that by comparing it to other amps now. So now, actually, the Stealth is kind of like my benchmark amp. Whenever I get an amp down here, I compare it to the Stealth first. And just to see how gnarly the other amp is and the voicing and all that, I know the voicing is right on the Stealth. So I'll compare other amps. So if another amp's kind of dark, I'll flip on the Stealth, go back and forth, and brighten up the other amp and get it to the right, you know, brightness in comparison to that. So, and I'm not trying to make it sound like the Stealth. I'm just trying to get the EQ and the overall sound of the amp to compare to that well anyway, so that I can have each amp in here dialed in at its best settings. Well, Martin, thanks for your question, and I hope my answer helped you out. And again, if you're looking for an amp switcher, I can't recommend KHE amp switchers enough. And make sure you get the effects loop switcher too. It's worth it. Well, guys, that about does it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And if you have any questions and comments that you want me to respond to on my next Riffs and Responses video, feel free to put those below in the comment section, and I'll make sure that I do my best to respond to each and every one of them, as long as I can fit it in the show. You know, I'm trying to keep these shows as short as I can, but they typically end up being about 20 minutes to a half an hour, which is fine with me as long as it's fine with you guys. Well, I want to send a very heartfelt thank you to all the people who have purchased my preset packs for all the digital platforms that are on my website, which is also linked below in the description, tonewars.com. Please feel free to go over there and check out some awesome tones for whatever digital platform you prefer, whether it's Quad Cortex, KEMPER, or ToneX. There's a lot of great presets and profiles for you to enjoy on those, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback from people who are enjoying them very much. So if you want those really nice high gain tones and those glorious cleans to use for yourself, go ahead and head over there and get some for yourself. And to all my Patreon supporters and subscribers, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and click the bell so that you can be notified every time I either go live or come out with a new episode. Well, I got a lot more stuff coming up for you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.